Alright, guys, I'm back up. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why when I receive a phone call, it kicks me out and then it just will not reconnect once it freezes me. Everybody else's lives seem to come back, but mine do not. Thank you. I appreciate y'all coming back. We'll give everybody else a chance to get back over here. And I said, I don't know why everybody else's seems to, when they get a phone call and freeze, they seem to be able to come back from it. Mine just never reconnects, it never comes back, and I don't understand that. Mine never, like I said, I can get a text and it'll let me come back from that. But if I ever get a phone call and it goes to voicemail, it never lets me recover from that, and I have to start a new live. I'm on Wi-Fi, but being so far out in the country, it's not like a really strong connection of Wi-Fi. Our Wi-Fi just really sucks. You know, even when we go to upload a video, if it's a really long video, it can take half the day to upload the HD copy. Good morning. How are you? So back to that hypothetical question. I understand that they have got a lot of silly leads. And but like with Benny's lives about Donald's phone, once everyone knew that Jennifer Coffin Depper, the FBI agent, and Chris McDonough had those phone calls, there should not have been anybody else calling the TBI or FBI about those phones. Common sense would tell you that those two people was turning every bit of that over into evidence. But yet, over 200 people overseas and from the United States called about that phone. So it makes me wonder, again, if some of that wasn't done purposefully to bog down the TBI for whatever reasons, or Hawkins County for whatever reasons. I think everything that he does is for a reason. But also, I have wondered, and it has went through my mind, because they have been given some great leads. even by me, that's not been followed up on. And it's made me wonder. And this was a scenario where I thought the child may could be still alive. And I thought, well, is it because that they think that she is in a so much better place that they would just want to leave her there and not bring her back to CPS and possibly risk putting her back in that home? So, what, again, I ask, hypothetically, what would you do? A, leave her there, or B, bring her back? Because that's the law. If you was an agent working this case, and I think it would be a very tricky position to be in. But if you are working in a position to where you represent the law, and the public follows you and expects you to serve justice, and set out as an example to follow the law, that's what you should do, and that's what is expected of you to do. And if that law is followed as written in the Constitution and in state law, there would be no chance that she would be returned to that home. But she would also be stuck in CPS care too. And look, from what we've seen, CPS is no merry-go-round ride. I don't know if the family even deserves, not deserves custody, that was the wrong word to use. That was a terribly wrong word to use. Um, there's been a lot of things that's went on in that family and swept under the rug. And even by Sonia making the remarks that, well, Jeannie and Donnie was an item and things didn't happen the way that Don said that they did, tells me that there's not a lot of good judgment. That's what I meant. That goes on in that family. That was the proper wording for that. Right. Um, so I would have to question the, and it may be the religion of the family, the Mormon religion that makes it okay for these young girls to be with these much older men. So again, why do we want to put her back into a situation to where a family would look at it as okay to put her with an older man or in that situation for somebody to say, well, it would be okay for her to be an item with somebody much, much older. I've not heard of the Yellow Deli. You want to fill me in on that? I spent the day yesterday in Tennessee. Had somebody tell me anything about a Yellow Deli, I would have been glad to look into it. I was very interested in that live that Benny and Cam had last night until Cam started talking real good and then Benny muted him out. And then when Benny brought him back, Cam started talking about something else. And I didn't appreciate why have that kind of live if you're going to mute out information. So I lost interest at that point. Who's Dag? You know, it'd be really nice to know these things when I do go to Tennessee and when I am looking for her. Please do that. And no, I don't go live while I'm there. I don't tell people that I'm going when I'm on my way there because I don't want my life to be in danger when I am there. You know, I'm not crazy. I may act that way sometimes. Perfect. Thank you. Right. Well, we connected him to the glitchy dancer and the feet fables a long time ago. And we know that that started as a classroom project within that cult. Um, and we know, that he is associated with that church. And we have sent people in that church that says, yes, he is there. So we know that he does go to that church. Yeah, he is connected. There's no doubt about that. There is a person that I have asked about 1,000,000 times, and everybody keeps refusing to answer me. I have sent investigators close to the case, or what people who claim to be investigators close to the case, emails, and they say that they have never heard of this guy, and how they can claim that they have never heard of this guy, I don't know, because he's local, he's from Unicoi County, and he is the one who records all of Ernie's Hunter Predator Nation stuff. And I think I'm being lied to when they tell me they have never heard of the guy. And I think he's very important to the case. And nobody will help me bring him forward, and that is Dalton Stout. He is a videographer. He is a cinematographer. I can't ever say that big ass word because I get tongue tied on it. Um, he produces small movies on that IMBD. He is also a magician. He claims to be connected to the like black magic stuff around there. Dalton Stout, that's exactly right. And he produced a small film and it was filmed there in the hills of East Tennessee. And the name of it was Listen to the Screams. And the odd thing about this is Listen to the Screams is written in the same font as the opening as Listen to the Voices of the Wall, or whatever Cher's thing is. And the graphics seem to be a lot alike. And I can't remember who she said done her opening, her beginning for that. I think she said Mr. Cher done hers. Not sure. I've been meaning to get with her and ask her about that. But the fonts are so much alike that it's almost eerie. So I am in no way making any kind of connection there. But it's all, I'm just saying it's almost the same. Listen to the screams, and then it's listen to the voices. And the font's the same. Ernie and Dalton Stout was in Gatlinburg the same day that Grandis was there with the kids. Dalton Stout, Ernie, Xander, the whole crew was there in Gatlinburg and around the whole East Tennessee area there. That whole week leading up to. And for some reason, these two, Ernie and Benny, has been going at it on YouTube, trying to shut each other up. And I'm calling them both out. There's something to that. What is it that they don't want each other to say? And Ernie acts like he knew Candace from somewhere before. And the connection is going to be Dalton Stout. Dalton Stout has also lived in the same places that Mr. Media Manager has lived. So I thought, well, maybe Dalton Stout is one of these adopted kids of Tim Mullen. Maybe Tim Mullen is the one that paid to put him through film school. I need to know these connections. I have asked before for people to help me dig him out, and I get nothing back in my email. But I'm telling y'all, there will be a connection. And I also found Mr. Filmographer, Mr. Dalton Stout, in one of Ernie's Facebook groups under the Predator Nation thing. Now, why do we have somebody as big as Dalton Stout even taking part in such a Facebook group? And I may be completely off on this, but there has been a theory in my head that maybe this child got hurt during the filming or a filming of Hunter Predator Nation. And this has all been just a cover up of an accident of a filming gone wrong. And if she would have got hurt during a filming, it would ruin somebody's filming career, a up and coming filmographer, cinematographer, or whatever you call them. It would ruin Ernie. It would ruin everybody. It would ruin everybody involved. It would even ruin Dawn and Candace for letting her participate in such a thing. And this is just, it was a theory, just a quick theory that went through my mind. And I'm not saying that's even a working theory or a correct theory. I'm just saying it was just, since they are trying so freaking hard to cover something up. And they were all filming there in Tennessee. And Benny had this thing out a while back to where he says that he is a pedophile hunter. Was he part of Predator Nation at one time? I need these answers because Summer is hanging in the balance and Dalton Stout is the key. And if we've got time to look into all this and keep beating the dead horses of, well, Donnie may have SA'd her. You know, it might have been this and it might have been that. Well, don't we have time to look into why all this is being covered up and swept under the rug with these other two people going back and forth? Well, like I said, Dalton has been everywhere that these church people have been. I think Dalton is one of the adopted kids, or he's connected to Tim Mullins somehow. And we need to find out how. Miss Nita had information on Dalton at one time, and she said, "Oh, well, I talked to him, and this is going to ruin him if I bring this information out. And I've decided just not to speak on it or whatever." No, we don't do that. If he's a part of this, we bring it out because he was in Gatlinburg with Ernie, and they were all filming this the week that Summer come up gone. So it's time we talk about it. And it's time we talk about why these two creators are beating each other down and setting each other up and sending the feds to each other's houses, creating all this noise around each other to cover up. Well, Dalton may be a nice guy, but we need to find out. I want to talk to him. I want to have a conversation with the man. What's wrong with a conversation with the man? To find out what is actually going on. Because I'm never going to get a real conversation out of Benny that's not all twisted up. And I'm certainly can't conversate with Ernie. I can't get on that level to conversate with Ernie. And I don't think I'm ever going to find the truth. So I would like to have a conversation with Dalton. If anybody knows Dalton, give him my email address. Or somebody that knows how to contact him. Drop his number. And I do not record phone call conversations. I do not post email conversations. I don't do that. Y'all can go back through any of my lives. You can go back through y'all have never seen me do that. I have never posted anybody's stuff. I've never posted a never posted a phone call. I just don't do that. I do not do that. You can't It was like I told another creator the other day, you cannot expect people to trust you. You can't expect other creators to build any kind of relationship with you if every time you talk to them you throw phone conversations up in videos, or you throw email conversations up in videos for content. You can't do that because you're trying to build a working relationship with these people. And I'm not going to be guilty of it. I don't do that. And I can also be contacted on Twitter under the same name as my channel name is, Valkyrie's Corner. Does anybody know what was going on Facebook last night? Somebody said that Ernie was running from the police again and there were shots fired. Does anybody know about that? I don't have Facebook, so I tried to do a Facebook for family only and it didn't work out. So I just deleted it. So Well, it wouldn't surprise me because last night when I was over in Benny's Live, like I said, somebody was coming in there saying that something about Ernie was on somebody's property. I'm not sure. And the police got after him and Xander, and there were shots fired. And that's all I gathered of it. So does everybody understand what I was saying about the lawyers, or do I need to go back over that one more time? Did anybody miss the beginning? Well, in seeing the beginning, Ernie searching that racetrack and putting all that fake evidence out and touching all that supposed evidence and everything, that kind of threw up a red flag for me. Okay, when Detective Pruitt said that the cases bleed together and the lawyers in one case affects the other case, it's like I said before. Even though CPS does not have physical custody of Summer, they have custody of Summer on paper, which means that Summer does have a guardian ad litem attorney to represent her. Candace is right on the edge of having child abuse charges on her. I mean, she is just right on the cusp of having charges. So her attorney is telling her, do not speak to law enforcement regarding any of these children, including Summer. So because Summer does have that guardian ad litem attorney, and Candace's attorney is representing her against these children's attorney and CPS, because Summer is represented in this, that's how these cases are bleeding together as far as those attorneys. And if you go back to a live that Benny done right after the last search, well, during the search, Candace goes live and she's really upset and she's comparing herself to Michael Vaughn's mom, Brandy. And she's going off. She's really mad. And she says, well, they don't ever tell me about any searches and blah, blah, blah. Well, right after that, Benny goes live and he says, well, I'm the attorney for the Wells and blah, blah. I think that he also called Ronnie Lawson and misrepresented himself. Anybody can go back and find that live that Benny done, where he said that he was an attorney. Now, if Benny called Ronnie Lawson and stated that if he did not start telling Candace this, or this, then Candace was no longer going to cooperate. then that's exactly what Ronnie Lawson went on. And anybody, just like you can represent yourself in a court of law, anybody can represent you. You're going to lose that case, but anybody can represent you. Just like a non-lawyer can represent another inmate in prison. But I have picked up on the fact that there are paralegals over there in Benny's chat also. So you can take that as you will. And I have said this, and I have said this, and I have said this, and I have said this. Tim Mullins is connected to a law firm. These people are surrounded by different law organizations. While Tim Mullins himself may be retired, the law firm itself is not. The Chris guy that's a PI also works for the Kingsport Times. If you research Tim Mullins far enough, you will find articles that is co-written by Tim and Chris. Chris does many things. Just look into it. That Scopeworks 360 over on YouTube, I mean not YouTube, Twitter, that also belongs to Tim Mullen. The one that says we can make you digitally invisible, Scopework 360. When you go online to research that, it's virtual reality, real estate stuff, and drone stuff, and stuff like that. So the Scopework 360 is Tim Mullins too. Tim Mullins got more websites than he knows what to do with. Tim Mullins also has a house in North Carolina, and it was up north somewhere. I'll have to look again, but it was up north somewhere. It was one of the northern states. That man's everywhere. And he's connected to a lot of people. And it has also crossed my mind. Have y'all ever seen the guys on the behavior panel act the way that they did towards Don Wells, towards anybody else? Did that strike anybody unusual, the way that they they treated Don Wells. I'm just curious if anybody else noticed the bias. Anybody? And I'm not stating this as fact. This is just in my opinion about the bias that I noticed with the guys on the behavior panel. They treated Don Wells with a lot more bias and leeway than I have ever seen them treat anybody else, ever. And to me, that was strange. And what was so strange about this to me is every one of those guys have previously worked in intelligence, right? Of some sort. Well, so has Tim Mullins worked in intelligence of some sort all of his life, in and out. And I wonder if that's why they were so lenient and so they treated him like almost like a child. And I don't see how anybody missed. Right, exactly. And I did see a response that Tim Mullins left on his Wells Media Manager page, that something to the effect of it was pre-agreed upon that nobody would ask hard questions or something to that effect. I don't remember. It's been months back, so I don't remember exactly the wording. Well, since when does Dr. Phil and the behavior panel agree not to ask anybody hard questions before they go? I thought that's the whole purpose of them being there, was to ask the questions that needed to be asked, to see what we could find out about these people, and to see if we couldn't find these missing kids or these missing people or solve these crimes. We know now that the whole crying thing on Dr. Phil was a setup. Had nothing to do with the cornbread mafia. It was a load of crap. It was because it was a setup that where that Jenna girl supposedly texted and said that Summer had been spotted in Georgia. And then, and it was all a setup. And they knew that it was going to happen ahead of time. And it was all just for audience reaction audience show. And as we all know, Candace can cry on a dime. Candace is a hell of an actress. But it sure strikes me funny that every one of those guys works in intelligence. Tim Mullins did too. And they treated Don like he was a piece of glass. Absolutely follow the money trail. And now, because of all of these people donating, Candace is setting up well, I think they said that she's with Kathy now, but that house has been completely remodeled, and that should concern the TBI, because usually I know that there's a new floor in that basement. How do they know that that child's body is not underneath that basement floor? That should concern the TBI that a new basement floor has been put in. They don't seem concerned about that. But she's sitting up there now with a new house, newly remodeled house. She's got money to bail Ernie out of jail. She has money to send to Benny in his chat and tell him to F off. No, at this point, there wouldn't be a smell. That smell would have been long gone by the end of that summer. And the way that that house smelled anyway, who could have told the difference? And again, this is all, allegedly and in my opinion. Let me put that out there. Allegedly and in my opinion. I'm just saying it should have concerned the TBI. Because I know that when Andrea Gonzalez come up missing, her dad worked construction with my brother. And they went behind him in houses that he built. And they completely demolished concrete basement floors that he had put in brand new homes looking for that kid, and tore brand new basement floors out, house to house to house to house, looking for that little girl. But maybe that's the difference in this state and Tennessee. I don't know. Well, sometimes we shouldn't depend on technology. Sometimes technology fails, and we should go back depending on good old-fashioned detective work and people work. I think they need to send some people rappelling down that back cliff, because at this point she would fit in a small aluminum lunchbox. That's horrible to say. She would fit in one of those little teeny tiny backpack purses at this point if she was out in the elements. Honestly, I don't think she's on that hill. I think by the time that hill was being searched, she was gone. And another thing, I think it's awful funny that Don's family did not know that there was ever a girl child. Go back to what Mary says. We didn't even know that he had a daughter. And Don was in Utah around his family just 5 months before, 6 months before. And that's still in the back of my mind, too. Why not? Why was Summer's name never mentioned? As much as he says that he loved her, to any of his family, just months before. Does that not hit anybody else as strange? Kind of hits me as strange. Because I talk about my kids all the time. I've said, I wonder how long this little girl was really gone. When was that picture really taken? Mm. Well, that's true. You know, with all the pictures she had on Facebook, how did they not know? That's a question. Were they not talking? And it's still in the back of my mind how some of these pictures don't even look like the same kid. You go back to the beginning of all this, and it still looks like we're looking at two different kids. I mean, it does. To me, it does. I'm sorry. The pictures have kind of died down, if you've noticed. The pictures aren't being released like they were after it was pointed out that it looked like two different kids. Jody Sue's not going to answer anything. Jody Sue's not going to, she's just going to keep talking circles. I've tried with Jody Sue. I've tried giving her the benefit of the doubt, but at the end of the day, it makes me wonder who's paying her to. And one thing that makes absolute no sense to me is why Jody Sue and Andy's property has been abandoned and nobody is staying at that property. She's not living up there, and Andy is not living up there. Why? Why is nobody living at that 125 property? All of a sudden, after years of being up there on that property, suddenly they both decide they're not going to live there anymore. How come? What happened on that property so bad that everybody's decided they're not going to live there? And that's a question that nobody will answer for me. Exactly. The roaches have scattered. Candace is not on her property. Jody Sue's not on her property. Andy's not on his property. So what's going on? You know, in the very beginning, my very first theory was whatever happened, Summer was took to the 125 property and hid from the police until the police cleared the area. And then she was taken from there to wherever she was taken to. You know, in the beginning, Jody Sue refused to let the police search her property. And the question still remains, why? Why was the 125 property refused to be let searched? And now she says, oh, well, it was searched. No, part of it was not. Part of it she refused to let them search, and she was told to search it herself. But then I thought, no, Jody Sue's not involved, or she still wouldn't be talking. And then after she monetized, and she still kept talking, I thought, something ain't right here. Okay, y'all know the other woman at the church who stands beside Robin, the dark haired woman, and she holds Summer almost as much as Robin does. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? Not the not the black lady to the left of Robin at the podium, the woman who stands to the right. Her name is Rebecca Cody. and she is a doctor, and she runs a clinic there in Gray, Tennessee. Well, Jody Sue is related to the Codys. Her grandfather, I believe, was a Cody. I think, look, don't quote me on this if it was her grandfather or not. I'd have to go back to my research and see. But I do know that she is related to the Codys. And that is Jody Sue's link. So there's your bingo card on how Jody Sue is linked to the church. Now, the weird thing, well, Rebecca is just weird. Let's just put it that way. Rebecca's just weird. I'm not going to go into how Rebecca is weird and cult-like, but Rebecca is weird. I know everything on every church member. If you go back to my video, it says, are these, what's the name of it? Prominent people behind what's going on at the church. And it kind of, I'll go through real quick and show just a quick scroll of a prominent list of people. All those people's been researched, yeah. Luca, did you miss my video on Tim Mullen? It says Russian agent man. Where he's in Russia during the, it was like the day after the Chernobyl nuclear explosion. You might want to go back and catch that video. I've got 2 of them of him in Russia. Cody, C-O-A-T-E, C-O-A-T-E, Cody. I've got 2 over there, and I think that they've got the snake. No, one of them has got like a green snake, and the other one's got like a cat head holding up a sign, and it says Russian agent man. I've got another video about the real estate, and it says something about Southwest Virginia pastor and land ties or something. Y'all just have to go back through my videos. All this has already been researched and out there. It's got why Tim Mullins is tied to Bay Mountain. I've got that video over there, why Bay Mountain is so important to Tim Mullins. And they think that Don Wells' property looks like Mount Sinai. That's why they want that property. And you know, Mount Sinai is where Moses received the commandments, and yeah, there. And they think like around Bays Mountain, if you go back to the flat earth theory, and there was, where one of the dams was built, they thought that there might have been an Egyptian temple there at one time. And the Egyptians had took some coal, or not coal, it was gold, silver, and copper back to Egypt. And they found the remains of what could have been a mummy. there, but they wasn't sure if it was actually an Egyptian mummy or not. But anyway, they the Mormons have tied this to the beginning times, and if you flat Earth, if you lay out a map, the parts of the Nile River would run up this far, and blah blah blah. It gets crazy when the way the Mormons look at it, and it would put like all the Egyptian lands up into the Americas. But it wasn't. I mean, it was just a fluke thing that they may have sailed this far one time. I don't buy the whole flat earth theory. But we've known for years, because Tennessee does have an underground ocean where part of Tennessee one time was covered in water. We know that. But it wasn't like flat earth. It's just where time has built things up. But these people think it's like a sign of the end times and the beginning of times. And it gets crazy if you read everything that I've got listed there and what it means to the Mormons. And it gets absolutely nuts. Right, right. I've got so much in this crap in my head. It is hard to sort it, because a lot of it is just absolute. I can remember the basics of it, you know. You know the video where he's got talking about Noah and this layer and that layer of the mountain, and he's climbing up and he's talking about the different layers and this. That's what he's talking about. And they think that that's freaking Egypt, man. That's what they think. There's a video over there on it, and out of the Mormon book, and when they first discovered this in Tennessee, that explains it a lot better than I can. Because I think a lot of it's babble. Well, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. That's why I've just put all the text over there in a video when I found it. When I went to research why Bates Mountain was so important to Tim after he made that video about him climbing the mountain and the flood and Noah, and you know, he was talking about Don's property being like Mount Sinai and everything, and I went to research it, and then I run across how the Mormons found these temples around Tennessee, and they thought that this was the land of Egypt, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And this wasn't the land of Egypt. What it was is they found waterways to trade. It was a trade route. And this is where they got a lot of their gold and silver and copper. And they left small temples, is what actually happened. This was not the land of Egypt like they think. And this is what archaeologists have showed us about these small temples. It was simply trade routes. And that's what I'm trying to say, is it was trade routes. It was not the land of Egypt. But they think, on a flat earth theory, that this was the land of Egypt. If you lay out a flat map instead of a round map, the oceans all run together, which is stupid as. But anywho, I'm not a flat Earth theory person. I can see from the International Space Station looking down that the Earth is round. I can see from pictures projected out that other planets are round. So that tells me, guess what? This shit's round. But they think because these temples were found here that, Tim talks about that land where the Cherokee Indians was at as being sacred. Well, or I don't know if he uses the word Cherokee or not, but what it was the prehistoric Indians were there first. And they think that the prehistoric Indians were Egyptian, is what the Mormons think. Does that make better sense? And that's why that piece of land is so sacred to him. So it's not that it was Native American Cherokee. It was that it was from the prehistoric Indians before it was Cherokee. And the prehistoric Indians to these people are believed to have been Egyptian. And they weren't. Archaeologists tells us what they were. I believe, being an EMT, I believe in science, not religion. And I have seen so many of these crazy religions destroy so many people in so many communities. Up here, where I'm from, we have this crazy religion of snake handling. This, and it has gotten so bad around here, and I think Backwoods Bama Girl can agree with me on this, that it has got so bad around these mountains right around here that the police has just about had to ban them and say, if y'all don't quit, we're going to press charges on you. Because so many children has gotten snake bit in the last 30 or 40 years. So many people has died because of these snake bites. And we will go in there and these people will refuse medical attention. And all we can do, because they refuse this medical attention, is watch them die from this snake bite, because they believe that if they are right with God, that God is going to save them from this snake bite. Well, the law has stepped in, and the governor has said, as paramedics and EMT, if it is a child under 18, that we can now snatch that child and take them for immediate medical attention. We can call CPS and we can get immediate CPS intervention, and we can take that child. We no longer have to watch that child die from a snake bite because the parents feel that God is going to save that child. And if they find out that a parent has let a child under 18 handle that snake, that child will never go back to that family again. I mean, it is, and for years it was so bad across these mountains that people were coming down here from Tennessee, from Georgia, and from other states over here on these mountains just to handle these cane brake rattlers and these rattlesnakes and these copperheads and all these crazy snakes that we've got over here that nobody else has got. So I've dealt with crazy ass people and crazy religions just about all my career. And people catching snakes in buckets and trying to tame them and sticking their hands in buckets and getting snake bit. And yes, they pay huge money for these snakes. Huge money. Huge money. And I have seen some sad, sad situations. And you talk about getting the creeps. When you walk in one of these churches, you are scared to death that one of those snakes is loose. And you have just got chills all over your body. And it's like every sense is raised up your spine and up the back of your neck. You think one of these snakes is going to crawl out on you, out of one of the pews, and it's like you have got eyes in the back of your head and on the side of your head, and you talk about creepy. It is creepy. And widespread child abuse and filth. These people live in, and look, and when they are sick and when they do call for an ambulance, these houses most of the time they're hoarders, and they are in such hoarded conditions that we cannot even get a gurney through the house to get the patient on to take the patient out of the house. So I've seen religions that have destroyed communities and destroyed homes and destroyed families. And oh yes, it's rampant around here, but it's not as bad as it used to be. It's not as bad as it used to be. Like I said, the law has finally stepped in and has done something about the kids handling the snakes. And I mean, they dance around with them and they hoot and they holler. And some of them even drink strychnine and poison, because there's a verse in the Bible that tells them that no serpent and no poison. I don't remember the exact verse. You don't know that there's not snakes in that house because some of them have snake pits in their yard. And that's what I'm telling you. When you go, and if you know that that is a particular person in that community, you have chills on your arms, you have chills up your back, you have, like, the top of your head is tingling, and it's like you grow eyes all over your body, and you are watching where you step. It's insane. It's insane. They have, like, they keep them in sheds, they keep them in snake pits, they keep them in garages, they keep them sometimes in their house. And on Sunday mornings, they go and they get them out the snake pit and they put them in these little carriers, or they go to their sheds and they put them in these little carriers and they transport them to the church. Very seldom are they kept at the church because every once in a while the Alabama Bureau of Investigations raid the churches and they confiscate their snakes. So they quit keeping them at the churches. Back years ago, I went to school with these kids, and their daddy was a preacher in one of these churches, and he thought his wife was cheating on him, and he made her stick her hand in like the snake cage, and the snake bit her 3 or 4 times. He ended up going to prison for attempted murder, but he was absolutely out of his mind nuts. He threw her in a snake pit one time. She lived down there with the snakes. I think it was for a week or 2 weeks or something like that. It was crazy. You don't want me to tell a Summerford story? I went to school with those kids. My daddy used to tell me, he would say, don't play with those kids. He said, we don't associate with people like that. And I said, well, why not? And he said, just stay away from those people. Well, one Christmas come by, we was all, out cutting Christmas trees and stuff. We lived on a farm. And we cut our own Christmas trees and stuff. And these people cut a hole in their ceiling. And now you're going to ask me what for. Well, instead of cutting the stump on the Christmas tree so the Christmas tree would fit, they just cut a hole in the ceiling so it would fit that way. And my daddy said, see, that's why we don't associate with people like that. Yeah. Thank you. I've always had an knack for telling some stories. But those are absolutely true stories. Those are absolute truth. But like I said, it has slowed down in recent years. It's not near as bad as it used to. I used to have some recordings on old 8mm tapes. I don't know if I still have those or not. I will look. I will look in my cedar chest and see if I have those tapes. And if I do, I'll see about getting them converted over. Yeah, there was. I think it all started in Kentucky and it flowed down through Tennessee, but Alabama, that Kentucky and Tennessee passed laws real quick about those state snakes, but Alabama just would. It was just like free reign with the snakes, and we had the certain kind of snakes that the other states didn't have. You know, we had the cane brakes and the little timber rattlers and things like that, and it just kind of stuck here. And the people from Tennessee and Kentucky and Georgia would come here just to get the snakes. There was a lot of snake trading going on. Well, yeah, up here in the mountains, if we've got anything, old cars sitting outside or anything, we always hit it to make sure any kind of critters, it's not just snakes, it's any kind of critters. You hit it to make sure to clear all the critters out of it. And I got so tired of hearing people, oh, well, she got caught in that refrigerator. Well, that refrigerator is not old enough to lock from the inside. They quit making refrigerators that locked on the inside back in the early 70s, maybe late 60s. That refrigerator did not lock from the inside. There was no way she could not get out of it unless it fell frontwards. And it would have taken a whole lot of force for that thing to fall frontwards. And then it would have left some kind of smell of blood or body fluid or something that those dogs would have picked up on. And if you missed my live day before yesterday about the body detection dogs, they have had every kind of dog imaginable up there, even the kind that could smell ash. Right, right, right. We use them old cars for flower planters and everything else. I personally don't have any, but I think this generation is getting away from that, and especially our kids. You know, we don't like that stigma. But the generation before us, man, they would use anything for flower planters. I just don't think she was on that property when the police was up there. I think she was long gone before the police was even called. I do believe that Candace left that hill a couple of times. I have a couple of theories of what happened. And I'm actually working a new theory. And I want to talk to Dalton Stout. Just because of the fact that I found the video of them filming almost 10 months ago in Gatlinburg. And I need to know about all this filming that has been going on up around Rogersville. Candace going for a walk, she could have lured those dogs off that property. Or one of those trips leaving that property could have been with the dogs and taken them dogs to the lower property. So somebody else could have took that kid right off that property. But I'm not so sure that the kid was even there on June 15th. I'm really not. My original theory was that her and Hunter was at the house doing what her and Hunter does. The boys and Summer was down on that lower property playing hide and seek. And Candace and Don said 1,000,000 times, well, they don't go down there without their walkie-talkies and their pocket knives. The kids told the police that they were playing hide and seek. I thought maybe Summer had got up into that hunting blind and was hiding. And she fell. Candace went, they hollered at Candace on the walkie-talkie, and Candace went down that hill. And then she started hollering at the boys, what did you do, what did you do? Because if you go back to that video where Don is showing everybody where they went when they come in, he parks in front of that hunting blind. And when he's staring at it, he's crying. He's got a tear in his eye. And there's a loose board there that's hanging over about that far. Now from there, I think that she was picked up and she was took maybe over to the 125 property and hid until the police cleared out. And then whatever was done with her, she was done with her. After I come out with this theory of the hunting blind and her falling and hitting her head on that limestone rock that was under it, Don tore that hunting blind down. The hunting blind come up gone after I put that theory out. And you can go back down my videos to my original theory and you can listen to me say this over and over and over. And then there's a video that says Don has tore the hunting blind down. Now, had she hit her head hard enough from that fall on that limestone rock, it may not have necessarily caused blood. It could have just broke her neck. And that be that. It would not have left necessarily any kind of smell. It would have not left even body fluids. Sometimes when you break your neck, it does not even cause body fluids out the ears or the nose right away. That would account for the scream. That would account for Jody Sue hearing, what did you do? What did you do? That would account for hearing the car doors down there. That would account for one of the trips leaving would have been to take Hunter home. one of the trips would have been Candace going down to that lower property. Taking a I don't know. It depends on how bad they got into those boys' head. I mean, the abuse was pretty severe. Now, that would be if I was just going with a flat out accident theory. That would be my accident theory. Just because of the fact that that hunting blind was tore down the way that it was. After I said something about it. See, if she would have fell down those stairs in the house, they would have found something. It would have left, that would have been a hell of a tumble. So I don't think it was the stairs in the basement. Now, if it's hiding her from CPS, she's nowhere in Rogersville. She's hid somewhere within the Mormon community. And that doesn't necessarily mean Utah, because there's not a whole lot of Mormons left in Utah. You know, they've been being run out of Utah for the last 10 or 15 years. I don't know, because if you listen to what Sherry says in the JLR interview, she says, well, Candace had called the CPS out here, and we had called the CPS out there. And then you've got a neighbor down there that calls CPS, and then Candace will call CPS. And CPS seems like they were being used as a football in all different directions. And I think that CPS was desensitized to the whole situation to where they weren't really even investigating or paying attention anymore, because they were being sent back and forth so much. I think when CPS did show up out there, it was because they had to at least make a report. So, as far as going out there and investigating or taking the kids, I don't think that CPS was at that point anymore, because they had just been back and forth between all these people to the point they didn't even care anymore. And that's a shame. And that's the dangers that I keep telling all these people on YouTube to stop calling CPS on people, because all it does is desensitize the CPS system. And then when we need CPS, they're not there and they're not listening. And that's exactly what has happened in this Wells case, is they were called so much that they weren't listening, they weren't paying attention, they were just leaving notes on the door, hey, we were here, and don't make us call back, don't make us come back. Just like Jose said, they had already been out there 4 weeks previously, and Candace was laughing about it. They had left a note on the door. Exactly. So was CPS coming to take the kids the next day? Doubtful. Was CPS coming to leave another note on the door the next day, or to at least make a report to say that they had been there the next day? Could have been. Could have been. Because CPS had been to both houses or all three houses so much that they were tired of it. And that's how I feel about it. That they were just totally desensitized to the situation. So I don't know. What link do you want me to put out? I don't use Restream or anything like that, so I don't know how to put the link for anything out. Well, maybe sick of going there wasn't the right word. Like I said, desensitized to the situation. Because a lot of people in that particular area does live like that. And if they pulled every child out of every home that lived like that, I guess that they would be completely out of foster homes. If somebody else can drop the link, y'all are perfectly welcome to. I have no problem with other creators dropping their links or anything. I'm not one of these that says, well, don't talk about other creators in my chat or don't drop their links. Or y'all are perfectly welcome to do that. Oh, I don't have mods. I don't use mods. I've never had to. I kindly get along with everybody, so I really don't have a lot of problems with circus people in my chat, thank goodness. But so I don't know how. And when I push on the three little dots, it just kind of lets me change my filters and stuff like that. It's just basic. It doesn't give me the option to make anybody mods or drop links or anything. And I pay for Melon, and the reason I don't use it is because my headphones don't work to it. And it tells me that Apple and Google is having a problem communicating, and they're working on it. So my microphone does not work with it. But Apple and Google's working on it. And the same thing with Restream. Apple and Google's working on fixing this communication link between the two. Same thing with StreamYard. I can't ever get the microphone to work. So I just do it this way. But I've kept y'all for over an hour, and y'all know how I hate long lives. I hate watching anybody else's long lives. I lose interest, so I don't want you guys to lose interest either. So I am just going to break it off here and let you guys go, and I will just catch you later. I would rather just start another live later tonight or something, as I had keep blah 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 blah. Y'all know. But I love you guys. Without you guys showing up in my chats, I, I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have anybody to talk to. I have a small subscriber list, but yet the same ones show up for me all the time. So I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you guys later.